Tonight, we're not just talking about airplanes, we're talking about jobs, power, and the future of the global economy. Boeing, a symbol of American innovation, is facing unprecedented turbulence as a trade war with China threatens its future. Production lines are slowing, orders are in jeopardy, and tariffs have become weapons in a high-stakes conflict. This isn't just a business story, it's about how decisions in Washington and Beijing ripple through factory towns and boardrooms worldwide. The silence on Boeing's assembly lines speaks to the fragility of our interconnected world. For decades, America built the planes, and the world, especially China, bought them, fueling prosperity and creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. Now, retaliatory tariffs from China strike at the heart of one of America's most critical export industries. The consequences are real and unfolding right now. What happens to Boeing doesn't stay in Seattle, it ripples across the globe. Airlines face uncertainty, suppliers see orders dry up, and workers confront an uncertain future. This is a deeply human story about the real-world impact of political conflict. In a trade war, there are rarely clear winners, only varying degrees of loss. We'll break down how we got here, the production stalls, the numbers, and the political maneuvering behind the headlines. This is about understanding the stakes and seeing how a dispute between two global powers can ground a giant. The issues at play affect your job, your community, and your future. And this story is central to all three. To understand Boeing's crisis, we need to rewind. This conflict is the result of years of simmering US-China tensions over trade practices, intellectual property, and market access. The US imposed tariffs on billions in Chinese goods, aiming to force a fairer trade relationship. China responded with its own tariffs, targeting politically sensitive American industries. Boeing, as America's largest exporter, was a prime target. The trade war escalated, with both sides imposing and threatening new tariffs, creating a volatile environment for global business. Negotiations have been inconsistent, with periods of de-escalation followed by renewed tension. Some tariffs have been lifted, others remain, and new ones loom. This ongoing uncertainty makes long-term planning nearly impossible for companies like Boeing. The trade war has become a persistent feature of the global landscape, casting a long shadow over international commerce. Companies are forced to navigate a shifting maze of regulations and taxes. The result, a turbulent climate where even giants struggle to fly. Boeing's current crisis is the product of this relentless back and forth. The rules of global trade are being rewritten in real time, and Boeing is caught in the crossfire. This is the new reality for American industry. Why Boeing? Because it's America's single largest exporter and a symbol of US manufacturing might. When China retaliated, targeting Boeing sent a powerful message to Washington. Before the trade war, China was Boeing's top international customer, placing massive orders for new aircraft. That relationship was once a cornerstone of Boeing's global strategy. Now, tariffs have made Boeing jets more expensive for Chinese airlines, while Airbus, untouched by these tariffs, looks more attractive. China shifted its orders from Boeing to Airbus using market access as a tool of statecraft. The result? A chilling effect on new and existing orders, and a once reliable pipeline of Chinese demand reduced to a trickle. Boeing, which plans years in advance, suddenly faces a massive hole in its order book. The company that saw China as its greatest opportunity now sees it as its greatest challenge. Boeing has become a pawn in a larger geopolitical game. It's a symbol of American strength now under siege. The stakes are enormous, for Boeing, for its workers, and for the US economy. And the world is watching. The impact of lost orders is now a harsh reality. On August 11, 2025, Boeing announced a significant slowdown in production for its 737 MAX and 787 Dreamliner models. The Renton facility dropped from nearly 4,737s a month to about 30, a 25% cut. The Dreamliner saw similar reductions. Factory floors are quieter, the hum of machinery subdued, and the pace of assembly slowed. Boeing's CEO tried to reassure investors, but behind the corporate language is deep concern. The company is lobbying Washington for a resolution, caught between tough US trade policies and Chinese retaliation. This is Boeing's most significant production slowdown since the 737 MAX crisis. But this time, the cause is political, not technical. Every unfinished fuselage and delayed engine is a direct result of tariffs. The silence on the factory floor echoes diplomatic failures. It's a stark illustration of how global politics can halt American industry. The stakes are not just economic, they're personal for thousands of workers. And the uncertainty grows with every passing day. Boeing's slowdown is sending shockwaves through the US economy. The company sits atop a vast supply chain, relying on over 12,000 suppliers nationwide. When Boeing cuts production, suppliers, from major firms to small machine shops, feel the pain first. Spirit Aerosystems in Kansas, which builds 737 fuselages, faces a 25% order reduction. Multiply that by thousands of companies: landing gear in Ohio, cabin interiors in California, flight software in Texas. The entire aerospace ecosystem, a rare US global stronghold, is weakened. Communities like Everett and North Charleston, deeply tied to Boeing, see local economies suffer: less overtime, fewer jobs, and reduced spending. Property values stagnate, tax revenues fall, and public services are threatened. Every unsold plane worsens America's trade deficit, undermining the very goals of the tariffs. Instead of selling more abroad, the US is selling less of its most valuable products. The result? Unintended consequences that ripple far beyond Boeing's walls. The economic shockwave is real, powerful, and painful. It's a lesson in how trade wars can backfire. The health of one company can determine the fate of entire regions, and the damage is mounting. Behind the numbers are thousands of skilled workers whose livelihoods are at risk. For many, a job at Boeing is a source of pride and a path to the middle class. Now they face fewer shifts, less overtime, and the threat of layoffs. One machinist told us, "We're proud of what we build, but our jobs are threatened by politics beyond our control." This anxiety is shared by thousands. Collateral damage in an international dispute. The impact extends beyond the factory. Families delay big decisions. Young graduates struggle to find work, and communities feel the strain. Labor unions like the IAM are caught in the middle, advocating for job security while navigating a complex political landscape. They push for solutions to restart production and protect American jobs. The human cost is measured in sleepless nights and uncertain futures. These are not just statistics, they're real people, with real families, facing real hardship. The trade war's toll is deeply personal. It's a reminder that behind every economic headline are lives upended. Workers who helped build America's industrial power now face an uncertain tomorrow. The stakes are more than economic, they're human, and the search for answers is urgent. The Boeing crisis exposes a vulnerability in our global economy: fragile, complex supply chains. Airplanes are assembled from millions of parts sourced worldwide. The just-in-time system was built for efficiency in a world of open trade. The trade war has disrupted this, adding cost, complexity, and uncertainty. Companies now face tough choices: find new suppliers, move factories, or absorb higher costs. Rerouting supply chains is expensive and slow. Boeing also relies on Chinese components. Tariffs threaten both its customers and its own production. The result is a dangerous feedback loop: lost customers, disrupted suppliers, rising costs. Companies across industries are now prioritizing resilience over efficiency, reshoring production closer to home. This could mean higher prices for consumers and an end to the era of ever cheaper goods. The Boeing crisis signals that globalization's rules are changing. Political risk is now a central factor in every business decision. For perspective, we spoke with Dr. Evelyn Reed, a trade economist who studied aerospace for decades. She warns this isn't a temporary downturn, it's a potential permanent shift in global aviation. Trust and reliability are everything in this industry. When China shifts to Airbus, it's not just for this year, it's a long-term partnership for maintenance, training, and future purchases. Once airlines reorient around Airbus, switching back is costly and complicated. Every sale lost today could mean decades of lost business. Dr. Reed also points to China's own aircraft industry. The state-backed COMAC is developing jets to compete directly with Boeing. The trade war gives China incentive to fast-track its own planes and pressure airlines to buy domestic. By sidelining Boeing, the US may be creating a formidable new competitor. The short-term strategy risks long-term dominance in the skies. Dr. Reed's conclusion: a resolution is urgently needed. The longer the stalemate, the greater the risk to America's export leadership. The consequences could be irreversible. Why does a slowdown at Boeing matter to you? Because it's a microcosm of America's biggest economic challenge. It's about the future of American jobs and our ability to compete globally. The fate of Boeing's workers is tied to small businesses and the health of the US economy. If a giant like Boeing can be brought to its knees by a trade dispute, what does that mean for everyone else? It shows how vulnerable we are to geopolitical shocks. The world is watching how the US handles this crisis. The outcome will shape international trade for a generation. Resolving these disputes requires smart, stable policies that protect American industries without triggering self-defeating wars. As citizens, staying informed is crucial. These issues affect our jobs, prices, and national standing. Understanding the stakes is the first step toward demanding solutions. The story doesn't end here. We'll keep following every development. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and stay informed. For now, good night.